Hello and welcome to the Earthborne Games podcast. I am your host, Anders Carlson. We've got a special show for you today because I'm back! You missed me last week, but now we're missing two Andrews and Maxine. And we've got some special guests. But first, let's say hello to Evan Simonet, Visual Design Director at Earthborne Games. Hi, Evan.
Hey. Hi.
And we've got Cory DeVore, Marketing Director and designer of Cory Game.
Yeah, co-creator of Hubworld Eidalon.
Hell yeah. And third time on the show? Second or third time? Joe Banner.
Yeah, number 2. Yeah, hi,
Number
Andrews.
2 only. Wow, it's been so long. And Joe is an artist and administrator.
That's right. I be responding to your emails when they come in. So,
And you're responsible for a lot of concept art for the
yes,
games. Yes, that's right. And first time caller, long time listener, Robert Brantseg. Hey Rob, it's good to see you again. We met in person for the first time.
Yeah.
Which is unusual for this show. Met you in person, now here you are. Artist and art director. When did you join the team?
I started in October
Wow.
of last year. Pretty recent.
And what is kind of your background again?
Tell
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I worked with Cory at Fantasy Flight in the miniatures department. We shared an office for like 3 years there. I also got to work with Evan and Andrew and Maxine and a lot of the Earthborne people. So that's been exciting to get back to working with all those fine people. And then I most recently was working in the UK at Games Workshop over in their Forge World division, and then got an opportunity to come back to the US and work with all these fine people at Earthborne Games. So
Awesome.
and kind of switch from, I've been doing primarily 3D artwork for years and years. So now I'm getting to do 2D artwork, which I think is very exciting.
More fun?
Yeah, totally.
It's something I've always wanted to do. And and at a certain point I was like, well, I don't know how I would ever switch from 3D after doing it for years and years. And then this kind of perfect opportunity just landed in my lap. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's good to have you, Rob. Speaking of Fantasy Flight, I was flying in on a fantasy flight from Washington, D.C. Okay, just riffing on the name.
That's a great segue.
That's not the purpose. It actually does have to do with Fantasy Flight. And I don't watch really, I don't like watching movies on the flight or any of that shit. See, we can swear, Rob. So I just watched the flight tracker the whole time. I don't just stare at it. Just stare at it, but it's there. And it shows little landmarks for every city you go by. Mm-hmm. And I looked up as we were coming into Minneapolis, and the only landmark listed on the screen was somebody.
Fantasy Flight Games?
Yes.
That's insane.
Wow.
I know.
That does not feel true. That sounds crazy.
I went to take a picture, and then it switched, and I couldn't get back to it.
Wild.
I know. Anyway.
Huh.
Big landmark here.
It didn't just show you like 5 craves as you were flying in.
That's a delicious local eatery.
Local multi-cuisine restaurant.
It's called Five Craves.
It's a better name than this other restaurant called Yum.
Oh, Yum.
It's just Yum.
Yum Eatery. Even worse.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yum. Anyway, speaking of yum, we've got a yummy show for you guys today. It's kind of themed. It is themed. We're talking all about art because we have all these art dudes here.
Mm-hmm.
Even me, I'm an art dude. Little known fact. And we're going to look at art. We have a lot of stuff to show and yap about. And Cory is going to be in charge of the slideshow. Right? Aren't you?
Yes. No, I'm the slideshow guy. The first part, Corey's going to be in charge. I was like, oh no.
And I'll be stepping out for about an hour. My daughter has a recital. That's a thing, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a thing.
Yeah, I got to go to that.
Fantasy Flight.
It's at Fantasy Flight Games.
The only business in the Twin Cities worth talking about or showing on a map.
We call it the biggest stage in town. Oh, I knew this was going to have kids' table vibes.
Yeah. Well, you got like the four of us that are kind of more quiet than everyone else. So
So I can just be dumb. So let's look at this. Evan created a script for me. So
You're going off script quite a bit, by the way.
well, I'm at the section where it says banter time. So I'm trying to do that.
Insert banter.
Commence bantering.
Bantering is concluding now. That says it right here. And we're going to move on to what's happening.
what's happening?
Yes, and we want Cory to share what's happening. We know that the Game Found campaign has been funded. That's pretty exciting, eh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You knew it was
I
going to
guess-
happen, though, right?
Yeah. Was it funded when we last did one? I don't even. I think we probably were recording that day. But
And-
yes, we're funded, and we're only, I think, as of this recording, 3 days out. About.
As of
From-
this debut, right? Not
Oh
the
yeah,
recording.
as of the debut, it'll be 2 days out.
3
from-
days. Just say the day.
Tuesday. Next Tuesday at noon, Central Daylight Time, U.S. Central Daylight Time. The campaign will be over. So we're like in the final days of the campaign. We're coming down to the end, which is exciting because there's been something to do every single day, all the time, forever, just nonstop. So it's been super fun to see everyone get excited about everything, though. But yeah, we've raised a good amount. We have over 1,800 backers right now, which is really exciting.
Wow.
And yeah, it's I don't know, it's wild to see that it's like going to be real. You know,
Mhm.
it's a real thing now.
Yeah.
And there was a bit of like an uptick just today, right, in the backers?
Yeah, I think it's because we're getting into the final days. There's a little
Yeah.
bit of an uptick, and then and I think that's a big part of it. But then we've also just had some pretty good updates recently. Fisher had an update about draft mechanics and constructed mechanics, which is great. If you haven't checked it out, you should give that a look. I had an update about mechanics and the factions, which I think is a pretty cool one. So, and then we also had a fantastic update from you, Evan, with all
thank
the.
you.
I know you're like you always go, oh, Andrew put a lot of work into it, but
Well, in this one,
you know.
I don't know. I mean, he helped
Did
me
he?
out a lot. I was a
well.
little scattered this week with different tasks, so
we all are. But either way, you
But I'm
guys
happy
both
with it.
did great.
yeah.
It's a great update about
I
art
like it.
and theme
Thank you.
stuff, and it's really fantastic because it's been super fun, and that's what this episode's about. It's talking about that very topic,
Yeah.
theme stuff and art.
Let's expand upon that, yeah?
Yeah,
Let's do it.
Let's mosey over to Hubworld Eidalon discussion prompts.
I like this. So far, this podcast has got kids' table vibes, but it's also got this really sterile, like script that's running it. You know,
Behind the curtain.
Yeah, peek behind the curtain, exactly.
there we go.
So anyway, Cory, I was wondering, what was the inspiration behind the visual direction for the game? I heard you made an art piece that really knocked Andrew's socks off, and the rest is history.
Thank you for reading that.
Cory shares the ramen shop piece he made and talks about it.
That's not that.
Fuck.
That wasn't supposed to.
You're
be
supposed to
read,
grade that part out.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That was my fault then.
Anyway,
It's so hard to
I
do
am
this.
curious to hear about this. Let's share some art and talk about what like
Yeah.
you know. You could have gone many directions with the art
Mm-hmm.
But you went for this very watercolor. I know people throw around watercolor all the time for art that's not typical, and it's not even watercolor. But this is actually watercolor. Do you know what I'm talking about? That's a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
It's got this really nice watercolor art style, but it's not watercolor at all.
Yeah,
Anyway.
it actually uses like textures and stuff. Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Let me pull up. Wait,
Yeah, it's a really beautiful
now,
piece.
Of course, the folder. I can't find it. Here we go.
This is the piece that you showed Andrew, and he said that's it.
Yes, I can share, and I'll share a little story. Let me. I gotta do this just right so that everyone sees my dog for a minute, and then I load up the image. There we go. See the fumble, just so I can sneak it in there.
This is it.
This is it. So this is the ramen shop piece that I did a while back. Just trying to also just practice art again, because like Rob said, similar to Rob, where it was like I've been doing a lot of 3D for a long time. I'm kind of excited by the prospect of like switching, but there's kind of this whole thing when you're in a career, you're like, when am I ever going to have time to like start learning a new thing and try to do that professionally? So this was me trying to just get some practice in, but also I was like trying to like convince Andrew of some ideas I had around the theme, because we kind of had an earlier theme and there's some similarities to Rangers and things, and I think we wanted to kind of distance it from Rangers, but also kind of align with Earthborne's values and stuff. And I had already kind of had a lot of ideas in this vein. So to talk about the inspiration, probably like the biggest inspiration is like Tekon Kincrete, which is an anime film or a manga like book, like a graphic novel essentially, by an artist named Taiyo Matsumoto. And it has this kind of like punk kids in this kind of run, like what used to be an amazing part of town that they really like called Treasure Town, but it's kind of like run by the Yakuza and the cops, and then there's like foreign interest in development, and it's just kind of this, there's like the people who live there are kind of in the middle of this chaos, you know, but everyone who lives there kind of like loves what it was or is, and they kind of don't want it to change. And so there's these rubbing of elbows and friction that kind of, you know, builds up. And I really loved that because it was a way to do something that wasn't like, I think a lot of sci-fi, it tends to be very like just, you know, like kind of hopeless in a lot of ways. And I just find that to be like, it's cool. I like sci-fi, but I find that to be sort of like unbelievable a little bit, you know. Like I feel like people tend to sort of find a way to make the best of what they have, even when they are under a thumb and stuff. So I was kind of trying to explore something a little more vibrant, something a little bit more with like different layers. Like this was me kind of exploring like something that wasn't like the fancy rich people, but like just like some little old ramen shop out there. And I liked all this verticality and playing with like there's all these little shacks and stairwells and things like that. So I was I gave this image to Andrew, and I was like, there's this city and there's this thing, and it all, after giving him the pitch and showing them this image, I think it kind of all clicked for him. That and you can see there's like some Ghibli influence a little bit, I think, in the kind of vibes where there's like nature and kind of like a relationship with nature and stuff. And Cowboy Bebop, I think, has been called from a few people, even though this image doesn't evoke it as much, but I think there's some of it. But also like that bus design, like I'm a big Star Wars fan. I started watching like a lot of Star Trek recently, so I love space opera as well, and that's kind of bled itself into a lot of the theme. Like we've been trying to find ways to like expand on this world as you go up and down the ladder of like society, and I think there's kind of a place for a few different aesthetics within that. But this was definitely like the ground floor, you know, to kind of get Andrew kind of maybe thinking about what I was thinking, and I didn't know how I was going to go, but he pretty much immediately latched onto it, and from here we just kind of started to all talk about it and play with it. And, Yeah, I was kind of amazed. I was a little nervous showing it because I was really self-conscious about it. I was like, it's not great, But he really latched onto it, so it felt really cool to hear that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I feel like I've had experiences like that with Andrew too, where I'm really unsure about something, and he ends up finding something in it that I wasn't even really thinking about, or maybe I was just below the surface that hooks him. So it's always a nice surprise when that happens.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Cory, I feel like I remember Andrew told the story of when he saw some piece of art, and I asked you about it, and it wasn't this one.
Oh.
Like did he see something, like, almost just, he was just perusing your sketchbook or something? I felt that.
Yeah, sorry, there's like a bunch of windows gonna start freaking out here.
And you shared that with me, and I thought that was pretty awesome too. Like where he kind of said, yeah, let's go that direction or something.
Yeah, that was, in a way, that was actually kind of before this. I was thinking a different like medium and stuff, and so I'd been doing a lot of physical watercolors. This was actually my first time doing like a digital watercolor, and you can see it's very like, I just selected like pigments. Like I didn't really try to make like a cool blue. It's just straight up like Prussian blue or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's very like crayon box color palette. But I actually might have that somewhere.
I also had the thought, if any of you are just listening to this podcast, I don't know how enjoyable. I don't think we need to describe what we're looking at, do we?
Maybe you can.
Oh yeah, we probably should. Yeah, little ramen shop. There's like a little guy sitting at I call it a ramen shop, but it's like a little stall, and it's like way up in the rafters of the city, and has a little neon sign that has a language that doesn't make sense, and a little commuter bus that's seen better days, probably just coming to drop someone off.
It's flying commuter bus. Flies.
Yeah.
And it's cool perspective. You can see the city below. About 100 feet below. That's way up there.
It's way up there.
Little vending machine up on the roof. I love that.
Yeah.
Get some baked lays.
The Hubworld equivalent.
I wasn't expecting to blow this up, so it took me a moment here, but here's this one.
Yeah, that's sick.
Oh, wow.
That.
Yeah.
So this was the traditional watercolor I did, and I just kind of was like trying to get back into doing it. And I shared this with Andrew, and he was like, that's great. He's like, honestly, that should be the art style or something. And so that's what kind of kicked me off to go and try a digital thing. So this, in a way, this kind of kicked it off. But
hey, Cory, was this inspired by anything? Is this like something in real life, or is this just a building you sketched out of your imagination?
Was just an image. Yeah, this was just an image from like I think a photographer that's in Japan who does a lot of like just building photography and street photography. And I love that stuff because there's so many cool. Like every country kind of has different things, like in Europe, there's a lot of trolleys and stuff. And so it's fun to use as reference for like just practice. So I saw this building and I was just, I'll draw this and color it. And it was a lot of fun.
I love that.
It's great.
Yeah,
That's
it's incredible.
Art. Yeah.
You're too kind.
Multi-talented. I like it better than this one. Just kidding.
Oh, thank you, Anders.
Oh my god!
Like I said, the color palette is a little less like elementary. Than the other one.
It's a great proof. What's it called? Proof of concept. Yes.
Proof of concept. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But yeah.
Rob, I just wanted to say, you asked me the rules of podcasting.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention, just jump in. I said don't talk over each other, but feel free to interject whenever you want.
Sure. Okay. Thanks for that.
You have thoughts?
Well, I remember because Cory and I have been friends since we worked together, and so I remember hearing about this game like before it was even pitched to Earthborne. Cory, you were kind of like, oh, I'm working on this thing with Michael, and I was hearing little bits of it, and I saw some early playtest versions of it, and then and then you kind of went off and kind of did your whatever work to come up with this. And then when you were like, okay, we figured out the theme, and I was trying to figure out, when I was first trying to get you to explain it to me, I felt like I couldn't quite grasp it. And then when you showed me this image and you told me kind of how Andrew reacted, and I was like, I get it, because now all of a sudden I also understand what it's supposed to be. Like, I feel like there's so much in this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you get a sense of what it, because it's like this kind of daily life scene. It's not like something super heightened and dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get like, it's like, I can imagine how this fish man making the noodles sounds. I can imagine, like
What
how
does he sound like?
He's just got like one of these like gurgly Star Wars guy voices, I think.
Yeah, that's
like,
what I was thinking.
And like, I mean, it's great. There's like so much personality to it. And like the fact that it's so bright, the fact that there's like trees growing on top of the buildings, and we're like a million miles up, and there's like these totally insufficient guardrails, but it's okay. Like, I get, I think it like says a ton about the setting.
Mm-hmm. Like, it's
I couldn't
cozy.
help but
Yeah, it is.
I couldn't help but notice that there's one guardrail on the stairs missing. And I'm just wondering. I'm wondering when Omniworks is going to get to that, or maybe they don't even care about that.
It's
sort of thing.
on the list. It's on the to-do list.
Certain areas of the city have different codes, and one of them's like, there's like one on it. As long as there's one guardrail, it's fine.
What is Omniworks?
Ooh, yeah, they're the orange faction. So they're like the Rob. You wanna say it?
I can't. I don't want to step on your toes.
No, you can do it.
Okay.
You came up with the name.
You came up with the name.
Yeah. Well, there's 4 like factions or affiliations or whatever I should call them in the game. There's these 4 colors, and we knew what they represented in the fiction, but then they had to have kind of like these snappy names. So Omniworks is this. I kind of think about it. I don't know how you think about it, Cory, but I kind of think about it as like this, almost like this union of unions or something, or like a guild of guilds. Like, it's this, conglomerate that allows all of the different, kind of like the blue collar workers, the people that are doing actual like maintenance and know how things actually work and maintaining everything. And they each have kind of their own specializations, I would say, but then they all kind of are kind of united in this larger organization.
Yeah,
but they probably don't agree on everything.
Yeah, big. They run the city. They're just like they run the city from like the lower level, kind of like wires and electricity and water and big maintenance. Union, giant maintenance union, I guess.
Yeah.
I like to think that they are permitted access to a lot of parts of the city that most of the population isn't able to get to, and they have a lot of secret knowledge, that tunnels and things like that gets them where they need to go.
Yeah, you can actually see this on one of the demo deck cards.
Mm-hmm. I like this. More lore. Remember to include lore during this discussion.
Yes. No, totally.
I mean, I think it makes sense that they're one of the main 4 parts of the game, because if you have this world where almost everything has been fabricated, right? There's like trees on top of buildings, but even those had to be planted there, presumably. So like, if everything is created by somebody, then everything also needs to be maintained at some point. So you have a lot of people doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. That's cool. Are they corrupt? Is there corruption within this?
Oh man, I like all these questions. Yeah, they are. They see the city. The way I pitched it to Rob and Evan and Joe really early on. Well, Evan and Joe, I think, in Costa Rica first before Rob started, was I was like, I like this. I think maybe it was even your idea, Evan, to have a faction like this. But I remember I was like, I kind of like the idea that there's this group of like maintenance workers that see the city as almost like this thing to take, like a living thing to take care of, very much like the Earthborne Rangers faction, like it's like the city's a garden, and if you like take care of it, it takes care of you. Like they're not like concerned with money in the same way. Like it all comes back into like this kind of like coexistence with, keeping this thing running, because it's like the thing that provides water, cleans the water, like they and so I like that. But there's not, I would say they're not necessarily corruption, but like they're political in some ways. I think that they're willing to do, like, if the Green faction, which is kind of the big money, is developing a lot, they might put pressure on certain systems that the city needs to run well, and so they might sabotage something now and then and get
eco-terrorist.
Yeah, they have some. I think they also have some, like, they're willing to pull some strings to try and like get you, like, use the union as like a strong arm a little bit to kind of like get their way sometimes. I think it depends on who you're like. I think every one of these factions has like people who are totally good people and people who are like, willing to kind of pull some strings for their own benefit.
And if we're getting into like the kind of the relationships between the factions, I think, Cory, one of the most, when I was first trying to understand the world and these different groups, I think one of the most helpful things you told me was kind of saying like, well, there's these, you have kind of like, blue and green are sort of like, they have more resources and more kind of political power in some ways. Or you can think about it as like a social strata. And then you've got orange and purple kind of with less resources. But then the other way to look at it that I think is not as obvious maybe, but is the kind of like blue and purple are kind of trying to upset the status quo, whereas green and orange both have kind of an interest in preserving what's already there. And I thought that was really, really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. There's above board, below board kind of aspect to some of them things. Yeah. But yeah.
I love it. So let's get back to the art itself a little bit here. So Cory, we got this vision of the art established. Then when did the rest of you come onto the project? And what were some of your inspirations, and how did you approach making art for this game? Evan?
Yeah.
And Joe.
I don't know why I said it that way. And Joe, yes.
Costa Rica time.
Well, like Cory had mentioned, when we were in Costa Rica, we had some time to sketch and talk in person about the setting, because it was very new at that point, or at least it was new to me. I had heard, murmurings, but it hadn't trickled down to me, like, what exactly this game was about. Just hanging out and drawing, the three of us, was pretty fun. We had moments where we were getting kind of loopy in the heat and having fun with it. But I mean, that we carried that practice of sketching and stuff into back home with us and we started to kickstart a sort of internal like drawing prompt, a weekly drawing prompt thing where we would fill out the world with cool things, interesting, whimsical characters and buildings and vehicles. And I think, Joe, you've probably produced the most like sketches and have imagined the world the most in terms of volume of conceptual work.
Yeah, I try to do as much as possible, so then the good stuff really stands out. But yeah, I'm really kind of an anime novice. I really don't. I've seen like the big stuff like Akira and the Ghibli movies and stuff. But I had never seen Tekken Concrete before, so Cory told me about it. And so when we got back home, the first thing I did was go to the library and borrow it from the library. And sat down and watched it, and it was great. It was and it really informed a lot of the sketches I've done and stuff like that. It's
we should show some here. Actually, I'm trying to let me pull up some.
Well, as you're pulling that up, I'll mention I forgot about this, Cory, but we met and you gifted me a couple of your Tekken Concrete books, art books. I still have them. I got to give them back to you, but we had a really good discussion about
Oh,
that,
neat.
and I really latched onto the look of that world as well.
So here's some sketches Joe did.
Yeah, this is one that's like actually on one of the playmats. This is like this one. As soon as you shared this, I was like, "Oh man, Joe gets it." Like, because it's great. Like it's it's got the full spectrum of stuff from like this idea of like, oh, everyone up top's living in fancy things, right? And it's great. I love this little swing down here. Like, I guess, yeah. I'm curious your thoughts on this, Joe.
Yeah, well, what I really pulled from that movie was like the density of everything, like how everything's kind of just smashed together. And something you mentioned to me is like, just because you don't have the means to, have a perfect life, whatever, doesn't mean that you don't have any joy. That you're still, there's still happiness. So I tried to bring that through whenever I'm drawing like the lower factions, like they're still having a good time, even though they're down in the lower sections of the city. But yeah, I just try to jam as much stuff together as I could. And it took a long time. I was really getting into the weeds and a lot of that little stuff. But yeah, it was great.
So
I think this is traditional. I think this is just pen and ink.
Yeah, I think there's like some paper scan things. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I did a pencil, and then I think I scanned it in, and it inks over top, or maybe I did ink. I think it did inks, and then I just scanned it in and messed with it a little bit more. So
my favorite ship is that in the upper left, it looks like a flying building. Like it's just a building that could just land if the people voted that they all wanted to move like somewhere else.
Triple decker bus.
People lift off and
I like a lot of my artwork. It's just like we have double deckers, but in this world we have triple decker buses.
Andrew
That's
goes wild
the future.
Yeah. I also love this. Like, I always think this is like a goldfish ship or something. Like it's got a mohawk too.
Yeah,
the fin.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, that's something that Andrew, like, it resonated with him too. He mentioned, I think, well, what if just the ships look like animals or something like that? I think in one of the pieces I made, there's like a building that had ears or something. And I was struggling to like come up with my own ship designs because I was just I didn't want to default to like your traditional sci-fi ship, but I was just like, I wasn't thinking of like characterizing them as animals. I was like, I'm just going to come up with a weird shape and then make a ship out of it. And then I just made the weird shape look like a sci-fi ship that you'd expect to see in Star Wars. And I'm like, this is not
Let's
working.
pull some of these up. Yeah. Like, cause there's a lot more city drawings from Joe. Like there's like this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
This was
These
called
were like
Private Islands. Is what the name of this JPEG is
Yeah,
called.
they're like
Fabergé
floating
eggs.
islands.
Yeah.
I feel like some of this stuff ended up kind of inspiring some of the lore stuff that we did, Cory.
Oh, totally. This one's. I
Awesome.
like this little egg building. I'm gonna pull up some others that I really
Fabergé.
like too.
This really kind of really crosses the boundary between Earthborne Rangers and
Yeah.
Hubworld, I think. Yeah.
You were like getting yourself used to getting into the urban stuff more.
That's right. Yeah. So Andrew asked me to try to flesh out the city and what it looks like from a long way away. So these are my couple of sketches where I was trying to imagine what the city looks like, and trying to think of it in different ways. But yeah, trying to get that everything's jammed together still, but that it's like been stacked on top, that they just keep on building on top instead of out. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about a few different things. I remember you and I met to talk about how I was imagining the city, and I was like, I guess the water out the end, outside kind of like canal districts, and then maybe the docks used to be outside those walls, but then you kind of, as you get towards the center, you just kind of get taller and taller. And I like that because it feels, I don't know, it makes sense,
Yeah, I don't know that any of these are actually canon right now.
Yeah, none of these are canon.
We should.
Yeah, these are just my explorations.
But they're so cool. I still love this weird tree stock building thing.
Yeah.
It feels like
Yeah.
I think you were probably trying to be like we kept talking about how weird the collective is, and they should be
Right.
have some alien stuff, and they're at the top. like where
Right.
the Senate building is or whatever, and you're like, here you go.
Yeah, I was imagining
I
like
feel
the
like-
lower structures are all more boxy and square, and then as you go up, it like you become more organic and like fancier. Yeah.
Yeah. One that I really like. Let's see. This one's that one again. But this one as well. It's
Mhm.
really cool.
Yeah, that's my favorite. I think the ones I did.
It's got like a tree of life vibe.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Yeah, that's great. And then I mean, Evan, you'd done so much as well at that time. Like, let's see.
Well, I mentioned this in the article, but I was kind of putting myself kind of in a small area of the city because I was just too afraid to imagine like the size of it, and so like Joe was doing all that. Thankfully, because I was
Nice.
like, I didn't even want to like think about that. It was overwhelming. So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, actually, let's do this one in a minute here.
That's a great one.
Because that is a good one.
So did you ever decide on
gosh,
like
there's
the
somebody.
canon like layout of the city? Is there like a official map or anything?
no, we should probably have like a non-canon banner that's like scrolling across this
Yeah.
whole part of the podcast right
this
now.
is canon. Yeah, we don't have a map yet, and that's partially because it's like so big. So it's going to take a while for us to explore it. But I think at some point we will probably have a map figured out. It's just kind of, this is so much bigger than a city that, and like Joe and you and I were talking about this when you were starting to draw cities, and I tried to draw some too. It was just like, it's so hard to get the scale.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to like, you kind of have to just pretend it's smaller just to get the general idea of your concept across, because otherwise you'd be sitting there drawing tiny little things forever. Because this just Eidalon Prime, which is like the main city on the planet, is huge. Like it's like a country, probably. So
when we were looking at those just now, I was thinking it's like, okay, we'll take that and then just have it spread,
yeah.
like about 5 more pages, and then it's probably about right.
yeah. But like Evan you were doing a lot, even when we were in Costa Rica, and I don't have it in here, but like Evan did like there's some really great sketches you did traditionally. We all did. But Evan was doing a lot of these great early environment and character explorations, which are really awesome too. Like more zoomed in to specific stuff. I love this one, Evan, with the weird owl thing.
I love this one too.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, really good perspective there.
Mm-hmm.
Pulled out the protractor for this one, I think.
The thing that's great that you're so good at, Evan, like Joe's good at this on like a zoom out level, and then you're good at this on this zoom level, which is like you just find a way to like hide stuff in, like just like that last piece has like a swing set. This has like kids drawings, like of like stuff tacked to like a board.
I bet you're
And
both
there's-
Martin Hanford fans. Am I right?
Martin Hanford.
Oh, I think you mentioned
Where's
that.
Waldo?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, of course.
Where's
Yeah.
Wally? From the UK.
Wally. I love the fake language. I love this like person just hanging out their window with their little drink.
Well,
You know.
a lot of that is just from looking at the Tech on Concrete art books, because there's so much detail packed into these little areas. And
Yeah.
it's just inspiring and intimidating.
I'm gonna have to see if the library has those books. I want to take a look at those.
Yeah. I
Oh,
can point you to
Waldo?
them.
Oh, Tech on Concrete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's Waldo?
Where's Waldo? I can,
And the Where's Waldo
Yeah.
books. Yeah.
I can borrow them
Love those.
too.
Where's Waldo? There's
Probably
one Tech on Concrete scene where there's like a bar and there's all these it's like a sushi restaurant, I think, but there's all these fish in like bags, like plastic bags, hanging from the just the whole ceiling of the place is covered in these fish, and I guess he just takes them down. It's like, I don't know, because it's just world building, but
It's like the world
Evan-
building in Where's Waldo, the second book, on the beach.
yeah, the beach.
When her
Evan took that for the smooth handoff piece that was in the preview deck. There's like little glass bowls hanging with fish in them. It's really
I took note of that. That's cool.
I
great.
ripped off that idea, just like those two characters ripped off the collective.
Let's see. I'm gonna keep going here. This one, like this is
What was that last
another one. This is Evan.
Did you skip over one just now?
Yeah, the other one is just like a perspective, a fish-eyed kind of thing I was trying that I just gave up on.
Yeah. We're just someone can freeze frame that single frame.
Yeah.
Why? I want to
Some-
see it.
Evan, do you want it?
Sure, yeah, you can go back to it.
Okay. I'm
cool.
so self-conscious about stuff.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I love fisheye effects in a lot of art. Like I've seen it a lot from certain specific artists and stuff, and it's like I could see that being cool for certain pieces.
Yeah, I guess maybe it's not really fisheye. Maybe it kind of is, but you're supposed to be looking up from the bottom of a chasm like alley or street, and there's going to be signs everywhere just jutting out of the walls and creating this
extreme perspectives of different kinds, including fisheye. But this cool stuff.
That is.
Evan, you were trying to get some like larger cityscape stuff, and this was like pretty early, actually. Like this was like so early that you were still injecting a lot more Rangers into it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still so cool. Like it's still so full of great ideas, and
I think we were talking about like data lines or communication or something, and this might have been the precursor to the telecommunication. What is that card called?
The telemail cluster.
Yeah, telemail cluster. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I also, I'm going to share this one because I love it. But this one right here, this is such a great.
Oh yeah, that's great.
As soon as I saw this, I was like, oh yeah, probably going to be a card.
Set bunch
I
of
can just
satellites.
imagine the person living in that shack.
Yeah,
crazy.
All the radio frequencies going through their their wall.
Dome.
I definitely think that that's something that I really liked about you two. And like just the three of us, a lot of our interests are kind of there's a certain amount of, I think, what is the term? It's like maximalism that I think we there's like that, or at least I enjoy, and I feel like that was kind of getting injected a lot. This kind of like a kind of extreme, like taking something to the extreme, like this guy he's in a satellite and he's hoarding satellites. Yeah, like it's and that started to show up in some of these, especially like the city drawings, and and I was like, I love that we're like going like one more step past the joke or the thing or the because it I don't know, it ends up not being just silly, it ends up actually being just like cool world building, like on accident, and I find that stuff to be super interesting.
When I think that what really drew me to make these kind of things is the idea that the collectives like portal technology totally just rendered Eidalon as a spaceport or whatever obsolete. So I love the idea that there's all this extra stuff sitting around that no longer used, and people just slowly started harvesting all of it for their own purposes. And I just that's kind of why I dwelled in these areas of the city so much, because that was such a fun idea to me. Just like repurposing things and scrapping and stuff like that.
Is there something you guys want to specifically look at while we're in here, or like character ones or anything like that?
Who, me?
Yeah, any. Is there like specific pieces that you really liked?
I think
you wanted to share. Like you were talking about weird trucks and stuff. Like there's this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I love that one.
I love.
It's like the idea of a space pickup,
Yeah.
Yeah. I was looking at this one right before the show, and one of my favorite little details that I kind of hadn't thought about before was the fact that the guy is kind of looking off to the side, like he's trying to see around traffic, and it just like that little touch adds so much of, like, even though there aren't other vehicles there, my mind puts them there because of that body language.
Yeah, for me, what it gives is the windshield's just horribly dirty, and
and
because it's like a work truck, it's like he's never like between deliveries or whatever, right? It's like he never takes they don't take the time to clean it,
He's got like bugs from 5 different planets splattered around that windshield.
Yeah.
I'm kind of embarrassed to admit this, Rob, but I when we started to talk about art direction, you would pick up on these clues, like these visual clues that I feel like as an art director I should just pick up right away when I look at a piece, but I end up looking at the technical aspects first, and then I come around to these things that you find right away. So I kind of like the inverse, how you approach an image, how you digest an image versus how I do. It's just interesting to think about.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I love talking to you for the same reason. You always find things that aren't obvious to me. So
Yeah. I love that you took the time to be like, this is caution striping.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like,
I love that too. That's a great little. I want to work that in.
that's the kind of stuff Evan does. To just find a way to.
Yeah, did you like pick that up from looking at concept art, the way they will kind of put in little directions like that?
Yeah, I mean, I was just, like with making up a weird language, I kind of wanted to come up with like visual language that they use for caution, kind of like we have blaze orange, like stripes with reflective stripes or whatever, I guess, depending on what country you're in. So I was just thinking of something similar, but just different enough of a marking. So
Yeah.
And nobody should try to kill themselves trying to figure out what the language is, because I don't think that
no
it is
one knows.
actually a language. There's no translation. It's just random stuff.
But
It's not like
I do-
Futurama or anything.
I do love when there's those like repeating visual things. Like that's something I think it'll probably develop as we go. But I'm interested in kind of building in more of those things.
I feel like if someone wants to like go through all of our weird language examples and then just assemble like a master language for us, that would be great.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
I would pay. I would.
Yeah.
Super useful.
I would pay someone to do that.
Is English
They're
being
50
spoken
bucks.
here? No, there's no.
Oh, man, there's so
No
many
English.
good ones
No
to
English.
share that I'm like, oh man, like I forget some of these. I'm like, oh yeah, you had like
Oh yeah, my
Ooh,
street
yeah.
scene.
this was.
I
like
forgot
really
about that one. This one's cool.
Yeah, it was so cool. This wacky chandelier tree. Or it's not
Yeah.
a chandelier. It's like a tree floating up, right? It's like it's like
It's some kind of garden or something. I can't even really see it that well, but
it's been a minute since that one. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a robot place to the left there, and like a robot repair shop or something like
A little
that.
Yeah.
robot horse,
Yeah, like some the robot
like
horse.
a little
yeah,
like child's
exactly.
horse.
Yeah.
Robot horse. Yeah, there's some just man, it's kind of cool. It's like fun opening this back up and looking at all these
Oh
old
yeah.
sketches.
So the idea for this one was like that some of these buildings have been abandoned. The people have moved out, so people have reclaimed them and then kind of made these structures on top of them with found materials and hammering sheet metal together,
Yeah.
whatever, to make these orbs.
You can have a sphere of your own.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Now I live on the top of the buildings, just like the rich folk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like the rich folk. Yeah.
Maybe all the levels they built upon are just like been repurposed into little gardens or something, or
Yeah.
vertical farms.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, so then eventually, like we were, I think Evan, you kind of did this piece,
Mm.
which was like the first one that you were like, all right, I think we'll do a digital coloring, right? Or am I getting ahead of ourselves? Am I getting ahead of our script? I've gone off script.
No, this is
I
where we
prefer-
should be. We're
this is
deep into the
Yep.
podcast time
Stick
wise,
to
so
the
let's
script.
get perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. So at a certain point, I feel like we were all so busy with things, but there wasn't really an immediate looming threat to just start hammering out art. We were just in this exploratory phase, and I think Andrew was just giving us our space. And I felt a little antsy, so I think I ended up liking this one, and I felt like the way that I had the composition, I could probably make an illustration out of it without killing myself with the detail.
Mhm.
And it would be a good exercise to try to avoid the detail that I like to give things. So I guess that's why I started with this one.
Yeah, and then
And
let's see. I got a bajillion images open. But
so I really liked one of the things I liked in Cory's original the ramen shop piece was how the background was just this light, brightly lit environment that like almost like there's this atmospheric perspective that was so dense that things are just faded out, and it felt like it gave me permission to just like not have to obsessively detail things. So it was a good practice to relinquish that sort of aspect of myself.
and it's really effective. It's so cool.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
it kind of creates like a non-Earth atmosphere feel. You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Like, this just doesn't look like
Yeah.
it's on Earth.
Yeah, it kind of amps it up.
That kind of fading out into white is one of my favorite things about the look that you guys arrived on, because I feel like almost all of my favorite art manages to suggest a lot of detail without showing it, and this really
Mhm.
does that, and your brain just kind of fills in that space, and it makes it feel like a little bit magical.
Well,
Mhm.
that's what watercolor does, you know.
Yeah,
It's like the real
Yeah.
pros. They can suggest so much with just like a brush stroke, you know.
Yeah.
They don't know how to move the brush and have the right amount of pigment in there to just make a bush, you know, or a canopy of a tree or something, and
Mm-hmm.
without much effort, or it doesn't look like much effort, you know.
Mhm.
So that's one of the things I trying to keep in mind. Even though these are digital illustrations, I'm trying to think like that. So
yeah. We talked a lot about how watercolor. It's like you use the page as white.
mhm.
The page is your
The-
lightest color.
Yep.
And so there's
Mhm.
like wherever you don't put paint is just the paper white. And so
Mhm.
I've seen a lot of really great artists use it as like framing mechanisms and stuff as well, compositional elements. And we were talking about that so much, and
Mhm.
I was really excited that you kind of latched on to trying to experiment with that more and more as we went through the process.
In one artist that you introduced me to, Mateus
Yeah.
Bergara,
Yeah.
he does that exceptionally well. And I was trying to like pattern a bit of my character design based on his characters, his style, just because I loved how stylized he made characters, and it's such a hard thing for me to wrap my head around, because I'm trying to like make everyone proportional, you know, like I'm too worried about like an arm being too short or something, you know.
Mhm, mhm.
So
Yeah.
seeing that sort of treatment in his style was super inspiring for me. So
His
Yeah,
stuff's great.
how loose did you allow yourself to be? Art directors and everybody here, like, is it okay if the kind of arm is a little too short, that kind of thing?
I think like when an artist has like mastery over anatomy, they can just go back and make decisions that don't look kind of clumsy, and I think everyone can tell when that's the case.
So
the most
if
part-
it looks intentional, it's okay. Are you saying?
I think a lot of times, for me anyway, it has a lot to do with gesture. Like if the motion feels natural and stuff, you kind of are willing to accept quite a lot, because I think you kind of zoom in on that and you don't notice like, oh, the one arm is like slightly longer than the other one. I think it's not necessarily as important as that
Mhm.
the truth of the gesture.
That's a
Yeah,
good point.
The motion or the pose can really lend a lot to it, but also costume design. Like if you just have someone who has wacky clothes, like giving them longer arms, it's like that could just be a big part of that design. You know.
And another thing I'm noticing, looking at this again, kind of blown up, is like, not only do you have the background fading off into white, but like on the bottom of this guy, there's no like indication. There's just like this silhouette to show where the bottom of his coat is, but then that edge is lost inside kind of that shadow where it touches his boot. And so I love how we're both losing that edge in the shadows and losing edges in the highlights, and I think it gives a nice kind of lightness to the whole thing.
Yeah, again, that's kind of like just being influenced by Bergara. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, but just being super impressed with how other artists are able to do that, you know, and just trying to mimic it.
Yeah.
Just so you guys know, we're having a thunderstorm here, so
Lucky.
Okay. Well, we'll keep
hear some rumbles.
We had a big.
That's what it is.
We had
It's
the threat of a big storm last week, to the point where like the news is hyping it up so much that Cory actually posted like, "Be safe, everybody," and there's nothing.
Nothing happened.
And I was just so mad about it, because that's one of my favorite parts about the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There's nothing.
So I'm looking at the discussion topics. So, like, one thing we could jump into since we're getting deeper in the podcast is I've heard some of the art in the demo deck was based directly on sketches Joe made, right? Is that it, Anders? Should we jump there?
Yeah.
I'm trying to like be mindful for you because I'm
sure.
sitting here showing all this art.
Thanks, Cory.
Yeah, do you want to go to like specifics?
Yeah, we can
let's
jump
look at
into
specific
some
things.
specific things. Yeah.
Jump us.
Because I know I'm time blind, and I'm gonna be.
I kind of skipped that question because I thought we already kind of talked about it.
Oh,
but if there's specific things you want to show off, let's do that.
Yeah, we do have
our
a couple.
collabs.
Yeah,
let's do a couple just real fast. If I can get.
I know Evan talked a lot about it in his update on GameFound, but yeah.
Yeah, there's like the shard winner.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do we have here?
Yeah, Joe, go for it.
So yeah, I think this is they call the shard winner. So it's like a person who's doing multiple things at the same time. The breadwinner of the house possibly has 3 or 4 different jobs they're doing at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I was trying to do, is make someone that's just like multiple key cards and several bags and walking and talking and also typing at the same time. So just
Sweet.
And
so
fancy
she's got
boots,
like, holograms in front of her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, those little eyepiece and the screens floating around, and she's got that keyboard.
That's sweet.
Yeah,
and that one, eventually, Evan.
Yeah,
I feel like those two images next to each other really captures like the hectic morning and then the guy coming home tired at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So one of the unfortunate things is the holograms are gone, and I can't remember if that was something
come back.
Andrew and I talked about, but they could. But I felt like at this point of creating art, we weren't sure where holograms stood in the world, because
sure.
Every time there's like a sci-fi, like Blade Runner, there's hologram women on top of buildings, blown kisses and stuff. And that just seems like well-worn territory in some ways. So I was afraid that like these cool like holograms wouldn't be received the way they should be.
In the crowd too, they would kind of disappear and they wouldn't be as standout. I think what you've done is wonderful, though.
The way that the eyes are, you somehow captured that the eyes are kind of looking at something that's not really in front of that person. You did it.
Yeah.
I think I was going for like she was surprised that she was bumping into someone, or surprised by bumping into someone.
But to me it's like,
but yeah,
she's like
I see
focused in on whatever she's listening to, like the call.
Like it's a component to the accident, is her distraction and looking off somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with Anders. I kind of, when I look at this piece, I kind of imagine that she does have something in that eyepiece that she's paying too much attention to.
Yeah,
and that's,
I kind of, I feel like I've had that same feeling as well.
But this one, I wanted to challenge like myself with multiple figures in a crowd, because I knew that was going to be important for the setting. So that's the big change I made to the piece, was just adding like a street full of just people going like bustling about.
I love that guy with the green hair, the monkey guy. Yeah,
it's
that's
great.
awesome.
Yeah, I love this little
green beast
watch thing that you scribbled.
Nice.
Yeah, it's great. Good stuff. Y'all are so good. There's a lot of others, but I'll show one more, and then which is a transit station.
How does that watch look at 2 inches? So you got to watch these podcasts if you want to see the details. Yeah,
yeah, you got to really.
That's right.
You want to see the pixels? You gotta, you gotta get in there. This one is transit station, which I don't actually have the piece like sitting around. I do. I can get it.
Cool.
I love this one.
Yeah, this one's cool. I love the out of order, the obviously implied out of order note on the one terminal.
Yeah, that's one thing is like about this world is like the analog and the digital is like always kind of meshed together everywhere.
That's the best.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite details in this piece is the trash can with the floating plant as a lid.
Yeah,
that's such a
What's a
brilliant little bit of world building.
So impractical, but yeah.
yeah,
great, Joe.
Explain what it does in your mind. Do you just draw that and say, well, it does something?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just a floating lid.
I think it
And it's
sucks
got
up.
a plant on
It
top.
sucks up
Yeah.
the stench, I think, and it converts it
Oh,
into
yeah.
some kind of plant
Mhm.
food or something like that.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff I draw, I'm just like, I don't know. I'll just let people figure it out on their own. But like, I'll just draw, but I don't know really what I'm doing.
That's
Yeah.
the best part, though, because
That's what we love.
making
Yeah.
it into card art is like that's the fun part for me.
What? Here's a question. What made you do the smiley faces on the screens? What's that mean?
I just imagine like an overly cheerful person, a digital person selling you tickets to the train station, like,
Mhm.
like something that's annoying, but
Yeah.
like, hi, yeah, welcome to the train station. Like, I gotta go. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, well, let's see if I can get these side by side because I had to use Photoshop. Oh God, no, it's not gonna let me.
It looks good. Looks
well,
fine. Yeah.
Here's the final one.
Oh, nice.
Oh, you open up the layered one.
I know, yeah.
Big
I
mistake.
I didn't know what the other one
Just
was.
kidding.
There's a lot of layers, everybody. Lots of layers. You can only see the layers on the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this, like, you can see the trash can still there. Like this guy, this specific man that's
Yeah.
like looking,
yeah.
like
It's
yeah.
the same.
It's the same.
He made it.
He's there, which I love. I love that the Mohawk man and the trash can ended up, and you actually like
Yeah, the sideways mohawk.
had someone throw something in the trash.
Is the is that ramen shop from the beginning? Is that going to be a final card?
I definitely want to get something in there.
I-
Yeah.
Give it that.
I would
it has to
say-
have that logo right there.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
that's advertising that place.
But that
good.
shop wouldn't have that nice of a like a advertisement.
No, this is the
in
Probably
Yeah.
not.
This is
It's
Yeah.
Unless it's a franchise or
this is
something.
yeah, that's a franchise.
it's the one that everyone knows about, but there's no need for advertisement or anything.
Maybe
That's
maybe
right,
the small time one will have kind of like a knockoff of that one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
But- My favorite thing about this piece is that Evan introduced this dog thing, this alien dog,
Yeah.
which is great. And then, as a Pokemon fan, this kid, like, I just love this kid that has the matching hat. It's just, it's
Nice.
it's
he's like,
amazing.
look,
It's
Yeah.
like when the kid, when you're like playing Pokemon and there's like the kid that has the Pikachu hat and he's got a Pikachu and it's like he's obsessed.
but is that kid excited that the dog looks like his Pokemon character?
I think he's just excited to see one in the wild.
So he's just
Maybe.
a fan of that animal.
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
animal. Yeah, I think Pokemon. Maybe there's their own in-universe Pokemon. Not canon. Nothing's canon. But I would love to have our own Eidalon
Idamon.
pocket monsters.
Idamon.
That's pretty good.
The big change in this one was those terminals went away.
Yeah.
And I
yeah.
think that was a discussion. I think we just decided that maybe it was impractical that they're so close to the actual boarding or something. I don't know. I can't remember.
I don't know.
Not like I think it was too bad that they left because it would have been really fun to make those. But I think making those terminals appear somewhere else would be really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it turned out so rad.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Now that we're zoomed in on these, I'm noticing things I've never noticed before, like this kid's leg
It's all
going
wrong.
into the force field. No, like
Oh
these-
yeah,
Oh,
like
yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
That's a Joe touch too. That was in
Yeah,
It's
that's
in the
original
original
sketch, yeah.
sketch. Let's
Wow.
see.
It's great.
Now, I have to point this out, Corey. Hopefully this is something you accidentally did, but it looks like there's a mask that was pulled away because he's the force field yellow
Mm.
field
Oh,
was.
yep.
Layer
That
3.
looks like
Just don't
that-
save
What did you-
don't save it if you close it.
Yep, I won't save it. Look at that. That's great. I won't save it. Never. Anyways, Corey ruined it. Like always.
Sorry.
As
I just had to-
always. No, I just have a bajillion images open now. But yeah, I love all that stuff. That process of Joe coming up with a cool idea and then Evan just expanding on it is
Got any more of those? This is really fun.
Oh yeah.
Let's look at
No,
one more of
totally.
those. One or two
Let's
more.
check out one more. Okay, one more.
A couple more. We got time.
Well, actually, we have. Should I jump to Rob? There's one that Rob
Oh
did
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
that turned into a final cut that Evan did. How about that?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Change it up. Include everybody. That's
Mhm.
the story. The Capricious Informant.
Yes.
I love this.
Before the show, we were trying to figure out what what reminds me of. So if you have any ideas, we had Land of the Lost, Alien. What was the other one?
Kind of like
Beetlejuice.
the original Star Trek creature.
Yeah, Kirk wrestling the lizard.
Mhm.
The Gorn.
The Gorn. Rob.
Yeah.
What? I know we talked about just like a nervous informant.
Yeah. Well, I love aliens.
Mhm.
And I loved your Fishman and your ramen piece, and it immediately got me thinking about like what other cool aliens might be in this city and on this planet. And I liked that the guy had so much personality. And then there was this Capricious Informant, which to me seemed like a guy who would be kind of nervous. And I think to be honest, I think it actually reminded me of a character from a science fiction book I read, who is not a lizard man. He's like a I don't know, a weird mammal creature, but just like I had this very specific idea of the personality. But then I like lizards and insects and weird things that aren't mammals. So I was like, maybe he could be like a lizard, like a nervous kind of lizard guy. And I don't know. I was doing these really fast scribbly doodles. As you can see, it's not refined at all, but just trying to come up with something that had as much personality as like Cory's fish guy. And then this was my favorite one. I guess it could have ended up being any number of things, but this lizard guy ended up being my favorite. So when Evan was like, hey, what are we going to do for this Capricious Informant, I sent him this.
Yeah.
He looks nervous.
He does look nervous.
Thank you.
Can I just interject? I realized what it reminds me of. Do you remember the 90s?
What's that?
The 90s Mario Brothers movie? What they did with the
yeah.
Goomba?
How they massacred
I do
the
remember
Goomba.
that.
Yeah, weird giant body with a tiny little lizard head.
Oh, what a
That
strange
was
movie.
such a strange.
The Goomba.
Yeah. I saw that in the theater.
Oh,
I
that's a
weirdly
flex.
love that movie because it's so.
Did you cry in the theater or did you cry afterwards? About how it was?
I was very confused, but not as confused as my dad was. He brought us there.
That movie is very confusing.
So weird.
And so that turned into, this guy. Wait, let me get them side by side. Look
Yeah.
at that. Evan basically just copied Rob.
I know.
100%.
There's a lot of. I mean, Evan really did a lot of work here to pull this out of this
He
sketch.
kept the angle and like everything is like, I don't know. It's really funny.
Yeah.
He got the expression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
I
nailed it.
wanted I like the weird grin, and that's there. And Evan did a great job translating this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I did do the one unforgivable thing, and I especially because you were coming off of working on Star Wars sculpts, I ended up making him look like a Star Wars guy with his coat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I
think it works. I think we discussed like so many different costume options for this guy. I think, and I think we ended up doing like a full circle sort of back to this jacket look.
Well, and Star Wars is a big inspiration because of the chunky button kind of like space opera sci-fi stuff. It definitely bleeds into this. But yeah, I love that you added pupils. It just like really sells the expression of the scared, nervous lizard. Nervous lizard is just a really funny.
That's what it should be
furtive
called.
looks.
Nobody knows what capricious means.
Capricious lizard.
No, Nervous Lizard is the name of my indie gaming studio. So we can't use that.
Okay.
That's what they called me in high school.
That's awesome. Super.
Caprizard. How about that?
That's good.
But yeah.
Nervous Lizard Games. That's good, Evan. Nervous
That's pretty
Lizard.
good.
Okay. I remember, this is a total tangent, but I remember, Evan, you had an idea for something like that, and you wanted to call it Very Cool. Like Very Cool Productions or something like that.
Very cool video or something.
That's so funny.
This is a thing, like, it was an ironic thing my friends and I would say to each other all the time is, oh, very cool. Because it's so lame. I
It
don't know.
is really lame. Don't believe it for one bit. All right, let's back on track.
All right, Honors, I need you to lead now.
Oh,
Where should we go
I kind
from
of
here?
want one more of those. Do we have any more?
Oh, okay.
I love these before and afters. I live for this stuff.
exciting you? Okay.
Hell yeah.
What
More
what
ways
is
than
a
one.
good
Yeah.
one, guys?
Evan shines up all these sketches and scribbles.
Throw one at me. Card. I'm like blanking now because I'm on the spot.
Are there any more?
Oh,
Lizard
yes,
guy.
there is. There's
Oh,
Chrysar.
yeah. That's right there.
I actually
have
don't
such trouble
know.
remembering things on the spot while
Boom.
we're recording.
Oh, there we go.
It's a good one.
Who made this
There's
one?
a lot.
Joe?
There's a lot of stuff, and I don't want to like show everything because again, not canon. Nothing.
This
Right.
was the second version of this drawing. The original one, he was much more Assassin's Creedy.
He
Had
was.
like
Yeah.
bandit like wraps around his feet, and didn't have the metal arm.
Mhm.
And Andrew's note was like, "Yeah, you need to feature him up some more." So
Well,
yeah.
we should have showed the pose, the reference picture
Oh,
as
yeah.
the
Yeah.
original.
It's a picture of me.
Oh,
Yeah,
what?
I took a picture of myself
Oh my
in a
gosh.
chair doing that pose.
Oh.
That was my reference material.
Well, we also,
Maybe-
man, I realized there's so much stuff to share because there's like all these pieces that came at different times. That yeah. Anyways, let me just get this. Because there's like Dragon's Horde was like a big
I liked-
moment when you did that piece too. Let's see, Chrysar.
It's tough sometimes to pay attention to two screens, but this guy is really taking it to the next level.
Oh,
Yeah.
Corey, you're masterful.
I'm trying to find this. Where is Chrysar on the server?
Oh, you're looking for the original, the finished piece?
Yeah. Why am I?
You could go to the links folder of.
I didn't bring my demo decks with
you're
me.
right. Thank you.
Hmm.
Silly.
'cause
Sorry,
I didn't
guys.
scale any of those images down in the links folder. So
What are all those little white cubes around this guy?
So those were supposed to be like screens or something, I guess,
Yeah.
like that are floating around him. So he's like keeping track of everything.
Let me
that's
guess.
going on.
Evan nixed those too. He hates
I just
floating
put 'em in a-
screens.
He made them all flowers.
Evan, what is your
Not
favorite
at
thing
all.
to draw?
who are you asking?
Oh
Evan.
yeah. Oh gosh, this is the
Oh no!
Forgot
Oh, it's
it's
the
the
pop
pop-out.
You
out.
said you
That's the
replaced them
sorry.
with flowers.
Here we go. So this is the. Let me get the before up there.
The floating screens remained.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hell
it's
yeah.
like the main. Here, let me get some room.
And he really made those the robot feet on the bottom of the chair, like that.
Yeah.
I'd imagine
Yeah.
that chair skitters around all the
Oh,
time.
yeah, yeah.
He's got to be able to turn and look at all those screens.
It's just great. Yeah.
My favorite thing is that
Pull up
the only thing
Celery
Evan
Man.
changed was that the only thing Evan changed was he just flipped it horizontal.
He gave him some wacky white hair too, and he did a great job.
No, it's great.
One thing I noticed, though, if you zoom in on his index finger, his artificial one, I miscolor coded the knuckles or the segments of the finger. So the three other fingers have an orange middle bit, and then the index finger's wrong.
Wait,
Garbage.
what?
So I'm sorry. I
Oh.
apologize to all the backers. I'm going to fix that.
But the index finger, he uses that more. It's emphasizing the pointer.
Ruined.
It's a pointer.
How do you know he didn't buy the index finger from a different company?
Yeah,
That's true.
That's a replacement.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What was your favorite thing to draw, guys? I think that was a good question, Anders.
Like what type? Well, Or
what type? Yeah,
what type of stuff?
Well, I really enjoyed sketching environments, but I enjoyed when it comes to final art. I liked the more character centric ones. It's because I felt more comfortable doing that and exploring how to change the line work, make it separate from Rangers or feel a little bit separate. And it was more something I was more comfortable with doing, and I felt like I could express more of my tool set in that way. The larger environments are difficult for me and they're time consuming.
The stuff I draw for fun typically is more goofy stuff, like cartoony, I think, and a lot more humor involved.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, there's some really funny Joe sketches, like the little. I'm trying to find the little like street salesman man that you drew at one point. That's so.
all the ad.
Yeah, like he had all the
For
weird
the
like
cola?
little three-eyed fish for sale. You know what I'm talking about?
Capsule
I
Man.
don't.
Capsule Man. That's for our future. We'll keep
Yeah,
that one. We'll keep
we'll
everyone on edge.
spoil
Yeah,
it.
no
Sneak peek.
spoilers.
For what Capsule Man is. I can't find this one, but one day I'll find it.
Hey, Cory, why don't you just keep scrolling through some stuff that we can share? And Rob, why don't you talk about
Yes.
where are we at with the art, the process? What is that looking like right now? Going forward.
I would say the art process right now is largely about trying to think about like the pipeline and how we're going to do this at the pace that we want, and I'm trying to figure out something where that's create something that's like pretty smooth to keep that going. So I would say like, and it's also me getting used to doing something pretty different than what I've done. And Evan's been super helpful, and Cory and Andrew have been super helpful. And I feel like it's been a little tricky. I think one of the questions we had was about like this watercolor style.
Yeah.
And it's not like a super common style that a lot of artists have on their portfolios. Or if they do, they are very rarely doing science fiction stuff with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like one of the trickiest things is finding people that can do something that either have done something like this or can do something that could be adapted into this, but also have kind of the sci-fi sensibility and this, there's a lot of design going on in each of these images, like all these little signs and different things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty hard to find someone that can hit all of those things. So even finding someone that can do a couple of those things really well is exciting. And I've been trying to comb portfolios and things to find those people.
There's so many emotional roller coaster steps to soliciting artists, because you can feel like you're not coming up with anything that's really working for what you need. And then some days you just find like these great artists and you get really hyped up. And then you have to come to terms with the fact that they may not any of them be available, or they have a schedule. And then you have to hope that maybe they can fit their schedule and agree to terms and timelines. And it's just, it's a whole process, and it's not as easy as just sending some emails out, getting people on board, and then just going crazy. Because then when you get artists, then you have to introduce them to the setting, and you have to come up with these art briefs, and art briefs can take a long time. So because of all the art that this game requires, we have to streamline that process, but still make it useful. So a lot of ins and outs and what have yous.
Yeah, I've been spending a lot of time lately just kind of creating handouts to make it faster to kind of get artists up to speed on the things that they need to know about the world and the style, and try to make it something that they can like quickly adapt to, because we can't realistically expect anyone to know all this stuff coming in. So we have to kind of just be like, okay, here's the stuff you need to know. Here's some other, and then we'll show them some images and let them just kind of absorb the visuals. And then the hope is that they do something with it that is, that feels like the same world, but also like, my hope is that it's through a slightly different lens. And then we're benefiting from having a bunch of different artists by having a bunch of slightly different takes on the same world, because I think that's really fun. I love seeing that in other games that I've played when you start to go like, oh, I bet it's that artist, and
that's a really good point.
Yeah.
The piece on screen rules. I love this one.
I love this one too.
Yeah, this is the one that has that like the bowls with the fish.
Yeah. I love this one because I feel like this almost like explains the whole game in one image. Like there's like, it's like you get a sense of the world, you get a sense of like the kind of skullduggery that's going on, a sense of like the fashion, like all these like key elements that have been created are kind of all combined into this one image.
It really does sell it really well. Yeah,
I think we use this, Evan. Didn't we use this as in one of the main pages for like the artist's primer that we did?
I think so. Yeah.
To try to like very quickly, it's like here's what you need to know, and this is like one of the first images we showed to try to explain the game.
Yeah. There's a few that are like really. There's like a lot of different great pieces that came together and really.
This is very Tekken Concrete inspired.
Yeah.
But this one is so iconic already, I think.
I know.
Yeah.
So this is another one of the first ones I did, and if I had to do it again, I would change the belt pouches on the security guy's belt. Yeah. But then I also realized, look up. I don't know. It just doesn't feel right to me.
What do you mean? They shouldn't be there at all?
Well, I think that they shouldn't look so conventional, I guess. Or maybe there shouldn't be so many of them, or pouches on the back. Like, why the hell are there pouches on the back? Like, how helpful is that?
That's very Star Wars.
You can reach back.
Yeah,
it is.
People can reach behind their back.
I don't know.
Yeah, the belt
spins around. A really cool idea, actually,
and it looks like it could. I think it's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing I wanted to point out that I think is funny is if you look up, like, if you type in 90s laser tag, you'll see where I somehow got the idea of the gun, because I didn't realize that until just like last week.
Nice.
And I ironically, what I was thinking of is far removed from what I think is like the ideal laser tag looking gun, which is more the laser tag from the 80s, the sleek black guns.
Yeah.
And then there's like these gray 90s ones with weird angles.
Yeah, it's exact. It's exactly it.
It is pretty close, isn't it?
So
there you have it.
You wish it were the 80s ones, the black?
Well, I'm just surprised that I wasn't aware of that while I was illustrating it.
It's awesome, though. I think it's great.
You weren't aware you were aware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love the verticality in so many of these glimpses we get of the city. Like, you just get a sense of this huge maze of stuff. Yeah, this is another great example of it.
Piece.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Well, it makes me. I've been wondering how it's going to fit into the cards, because aren't cards usually more landscape mode?
Well, so some of our cards are portrait, and we have size adjusting text boxes that some cards might have only 3 lines of text, so the text box is not going to dip into the art window that much. But yeah, ironically though, this Sergeant Cole, he fits into like a circular shaped art window, and a lot of that, a lot of the vista or whatever in the background is getting lost. But
yeah, we've used it a lot for
working
like
for promo stuff.
It's great for it's like background texture for like marketing graphics or whatever. Which I love that is that you basically snuck my little bus design.
I was going to mention that. I was looking at this one more closely and recently, and I noticed that same little vehicle.
Yeah.
Or
That's a
very
good design.
one.
Well, I appreciate it though. I don't know how I came up with it. I was like, what if they're just like trapezoid windows and then trapezoid door?
It looks great.
It's there. But yeah, this is amazing. Like, there's so many things that you could just look at this and be like, oh yeah, let's do this over here as a card. Like, what's this little shrimp building? It's like your lobster house.
Yeah.
It's Crispy Critter or whatever, right?
Yeah. I like that these are like Rorschach tests. It's like, oh, here's a puppy store. You got
what's YLH? I think you need to.
I think it's like a great fast fashion.
So
that's where everyone shops. Yeah.
I think you need to do a pass to make sure you don't accidentally insert some.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely feeling nervous when y'all zoom in on stuff here, because I'm
like mushroom salesman.
Yeah,
mushroom salesman.
Yeah.
What's that? What's that one above the?
This looks like a spooky mask store. I don't know. I love this. I mean, it's like the thing I love about it though is that like you could spend a lot of time looking at these and trying to find all the little like, actually it's not in this folder for some reason, but the Canal District image is just such a perfect example of I think you said it, Evan, but here, let me actually pull this up. Where is that?
I just want to add, we often will suggest the title of the show in the Discord as we're recording. And we did that, and Andrew Navarro already created a thumbnail for this episode.
So I guess it's been decided.
It's been decided.
Oh.
So,
What was it called?
we can't say.
We can't talk about it.
Okay.
That's a secret. Here's this one.
Yeah, the fish boat.
Yeah, this is another one of those, like, Evan, just, yeah, I remember, I think this was like one of the last pieces for the preview deck that you did. And as soon as I saw it, I was just like, yeah, you know. I mean, look at this little, I mean, some people have called this a bat building, and I actually think that's very very, I didn't think of bat, but
that
now
could
I'm
be
like
that could be a whole mascot for like a 90s platformer game.
Yeah. There's a kid with a hat of this too, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's the Waterway Ferry, which is another card. It's like going right here.
I like this little floating, guy selling noodles and sweet buns or whatever's on there.
It is, yeah.
I was thinking of the Fifth Element. That scene.
That's what I was just going to say.
Except
yeah.
that was flying, and
Yeah.
in a city very similar to this. But
Yeah. No, there's a lot of great stuff in here. This piece reminds me a lot of a video game called Machinarium from the Uncama design, like point and click game. Just a lot of these like little, just so many layers of interesting little bits and bobs and building shapes, and it's really great.
Well, the art looks great. Do you want to show us one final showstopper to close us out?
Wow.
You put me on a spot.
Yeah.
This one is good.
This is a good. This kind of
It's a good one.
this is fun.
That's it.
This is what we'll end it for now.
Yeah. It looks awesome. You all are
Beautiful
doing
game.
great work.
Thank you.
This was fun. I hope it's fun for people watching. I loved looking at those things.
Not so fun for the people listening.
Yeah, I'm sure they've.
Yeah, you might
switch over.
This is one of those. This is a switcher.
Someone out there saying, "Get to Anders indie game corner. Come on."
Yeah. Is there anything else
we really didn't stick with the describing
That's
the
fine.
art at all. So there you have it. The art episode.
We did it.
Go fund the game. Is that what they say?
Yeah.
Go over to GameFound if that inspired you.
Back it
in the description. Link in the description.
Link in the description.
Yeah.
So that brings us. It feels weird to then just do our regular old junk. Let's talk about what we're into now. Stuff we're into. Let's do it. What was everybody into last week? Anything cool? Oh, I have a story to tell. I think last Wednesday or one of those days, it was the pre-order for the Switch 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I stayed up late till 11 p.m. when the pre-orders opened up, and it was a shit show. It was nothing was working. Everything was crashing. You get stuck in these waiting rooms on Walmart.com, Target.com, whatever.
Oh gosh.
Anyway, I've been waiting for the Switch 2 for a long time. I love the Switch. I love Nintendo. I'm a Nintendo head, and I didn't get one, and I was kind of happy that I still had $500 in my bank account. But then the next day, I learned that GameStop was going to have like in-person pre-orders. So I ditched work. I actually left work. I just left work, didn't tell anybody, and I went to GameStop. And there was one guy. I was expecting a whole line. One guy sitting there, and a little sign on the door saying they had 30 pre-orders available. And I sat for an hour and a half and talked to that guy. And the line
Nice.
Oh my gosh.
talked about Nintendo stuff. We never talked about actual life things, just Nintendo. More people showed up and we just talked about Nintendo games.
Oh my god.
Hey, we're talking about Nintendo over here.
But it was fun. It's a little like a nerd line, and I got my Switch 2 pre-ordered.
Nice.
Baby, with the Mario Kart bundle. So I saved $30.
Nice.
$30 because standalone Mario Kart is $80 if you haven't heard, which is insane.
Crazy.
That's it. That's all I want to share. I also
That's exciting.
I like The Last of Us season 2. I like that. And The Rehearsal. Does anybody watch The Rehearsal on Max?
Oh, I have not. Yeah, but I wanted
Yeah.
to.
I have.
Nathan Fielder's show. I'm enjoying season 2. Have you been watching it, Evan?
No, we just watched season 1, but it's its own blend of weird humor that I'm there for.
Me too. It's very
Sounds
surreal.
right up my alley.
It's very surreal and awkward, and I love it. I love anything that guy does.
Yeah.
There's my abbreviated. I did play an indie game, Steven's Sausage Roll. Anybody play that?
No.
I was gonna say I saw Steven in the notes, just the word Steven, and I was like, "What's this gonna be?"
I'm going to talk about Stephen Colbert. No, have you guys heard of this guy?
Your favorite Steven.
No, Steven's Sausage Roll is like a Sokoban block pushing game.
What?
Like
I
Baba
need
is
to look this
you.
up.
It's very, very,
Oh,
it's very good. Very good. Sokoban? I don't know.
Sausage roll.
Steven's Sausage Roll. It's usually like $30, so I never bought it, but then it's on a deep sale right now. Or maybe,
Oh wow,
I don't know if it is anymore.
the cover art is fantastic. Just a
Like
sad
bad.
man on a sausage.
It's
With
So is it like
knives.
Baba Is You, where gets very meta with mechanics?
No, you're just this little blob character with a fork, and there's sausages, and you want to roll them onto the grill, but you don't want to.
Yeah.
So when you turn,
Checks out.
your fork will like nudge the sausage one way or the other, so that you got the way you maneuver the sausage makes you. You have to really think about your moves, because if you roll it over twice on the barbecue, it will burn. So you can only roll it on once, and you gotta cook both sides of the sausage. So you gotta.
Yeah.
And there's multiple sausages per level.
I don't, this sounds like you're making this all up.
Pretty cool game. Fisher would understand.
You're like right now. You're like, I wish Fisher was here.
Wish Fisher was here. I feel like I'm lost on an island. Embarrassment.
No, I love it. I'm looking at it. It looks. I'll have to try it.
Give it a try.
I appreciate the tips.
I want to watch Cory play it.
Anders, speaking of that show, what's it called again?
The Rehearsal.
The Rehearsal. There. Have you ever watched I Think You Should Leave?
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Have you seen this
Oh,
skit
yeah.
where he's playing that game where he's feeding the eggs
Yes.
to the egg thing?
That's what it's like. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I was wondering.
I guess more involved than that. Okay. Does anybody else want to be brave enough to
Joe.
share what they like?
I've been rewatching King of the Hill
Oh, okay.
wow.
from episode 1
Oh,
on.
nice.
That show is so
yeah?
good. Oh God,
Holds up.
Now,
many belly laughs.
does this first season have us does it have to find its footing like many animated and other shows? Or
A little bit, but it's not so much in King of the Hill. They're pretty much they come off the ground running. It's pretty good.
Homer doesn't have a weird voice.
yeah,
More.
The animation's a little weird,
Yeah.
but
Mm.
some of the character designs aren't quite there. But yeah, it's good.
Awesome.
And I just finished reading a book called The Thicket.
Hmm.
There's a movie now called The Thicket. It's based on this book. It's a Western. It's pretty good. It's a short read, but it's really brutal. Lots of violence.
Is
some-
is it a Louis
Joe's
L'Amour?
favorite thing.
It's Joe Lansdale's the author. It's like it was 2018 or something. It was written, but yeah, really good, engaging.
Sweet.
Nice.
Do you only read books by people named Joe?
That's correct.
His favorite subgenre.
I go to the library again. I'll talk about the library all the time because that's where I get all my books. But yeah.
Well, you should read Joe.
Take me to your Joe aisle.
Read
Yeah.
Joe Hill. He's Stephen King's son.
There's a
His pen
Dewey
name?
Decimal.
Joe Hill.
Yeah.
Joe
There's a
Hill.
Dewey Decimal for Joe books.
I did want to talk about the Shining
Hank
book
Hill.
that you mentioned. I didn't know there was a fire hose in the Shining, so
I think it's
I
in the
didn't
Made
either.
for TV, the miniseries that came out in the 90s. I think because that was
okay.
more, even though it's a god awful show with terrible
The one with
casting.
wings in
yeah,
it?
the guy
Yeah.
with wings.
Yeah.
It's more true to the book.
Right.
So, and it, straight down to the funniest part is that Tony, the ghost that talks to Danny Torrance, is actually like a guy that's floating, and it looks really bad. I recommend watching it. It's funny. It's good. Good times.
In the movie, it's like a little finger or something.
Yeah, he just talks to his finger, but
There's a floating head.
it's a guy. It's actually him from the future. Spoilers.
Whoa.
Is Danny talking
Oh
to
my
himself
God.
from the future or something?
Hmm.
It's very
That's
strange.
weird. Didn't know that.
Mhm. How about you, Evan? What you into?
Yeah, I mentioned this. I think I mentioned this last time, but I'm still playing Oblivion Remastered. It's going very slow because I this may be shocking for you all to hear, but most mornings I get up at 4 a.m.
Whoa.
and
I'm shocked.
and I got like 2 hours of like just downtime, and I usually get like an hour of Oblivion in, but I really don't have good video game endurance, so I can't play for more than an hour usually. But it's a lot of fun.
Half that's like load times, right?
No, actually, it's not. It loads pretty
Okay.
quickly. I'm sure the
Nice.
original Oblivion was atrocious,
I love that game though.
but it was weird hearing people like say that they beat the game after 7 hours and they were like level 3, and then other people like have put in like 300 hours, and it's bizarre. I like to slowly soak in the lore and the environment and just read all the books and take on every single quest, and so
Mhm.
it's going to take me a long time. I may just like lose interest after a while because I know I'll never beat it.
Yeah,
But it's fun.
that's how I am with games like that.
Yeah.
I saw a thing where someone said that someone who worked at Bethesda said that all their games will always have loading screens because they have object permanence in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you like throw a block of cheese on the ground in someone's house, like
Mhm.
if 1,000 hours later you go back to that house, there's just a cheese wheel on the ground,
You thought my game sounded weird. What kind of game do you go throw a block of cheese on the ground?
I mean, if you've played an Elder Scrolls game, you've definitely just like accidentally just thrown
Yeah.
everything on the table all over
There
the
was-
place.
Every time jump on a table, knock everything
Yeah.
over. That's right.
Everyone's
I
just
remember,
like, hi there.
sorry, in Skyrim you could like put a bucket on the merchant's head and then take all of his things. I think they patched it.
Really?
Like he just wouldn't see you, I guess, but also didn't have the presence of mind to take the bucket off his head, so you could just
I love
loot him or loot his store.
So is that kind of stuff gone from the remaster? Like the wonky fun stuff that people like?
Some of it's still there. It's all these Bethesda games are just buggy, and that's part of the charm, I guess. And I honestly, I probably wouldn't enjoy it if it didn't have the potential for having weird, unexpected stuff happening, So I think they know that. Or maybe they don't. I don't know.
Man.
Let's move on to Rob. Do you want to share anything you've been into lately? Your first time? Magic Cube?
Should I? Yeah, I wasn't sure if I should get into this, but one of the things I've been doing lately is I like old Magic. Probably asking me about it is probably like asking Evan about Final Fantasy or something. It's dangerous, but yeah, I've been building a cube of old Magic cards. Kind of specifically, I'll be meeting up with my brother and my sister-in-law later this summer at like a rented cabin, and I was like, oh, it'd be fun to like design a cube so we have like a game to play, after it's dark out and stuff. And so I started working on this cube and became kind of obsessed with getting it just right and acquiring the cards that I was still missing. And I don't know, trying to kind of come up with like a theme for it, so it's not just that it's old. And,
What is a cube?
Yeah.
That's like our.
I'm so glad I
yeah.
didn't have to ask.
Yeah.
Corey explained.
No, because that's like
everyone
our
what a cube
product
is.
is a cube.
Yeah.
But essentially, just like a Rob, you're better at it. You do it. You do it.
Okay, well, like a cube is a set of cards that someone has decided beforehand that you can draft decks out of with 4 players or 6 players or however many you design it for, and so you can kind of do like a limited card play where you're not going home and designing decks. You're building the decks right there, and you can draft, or you can just hand everybody a stack of cards. You all come up with decks. You can play however many games, and then when you're done, it all goes back in the box. And so I really like it because it's kind of a way to, like in the case of Magic, it's like this thing that is not at all a board game, like you have to go off and collect it, but to be able to condense it back down to like this nice, understandable game in a box, and only the person that has the cube has to buy anything. I think it's kind of a fun way to do it. Plus, then whoever builds it, you can kind of curate it and be like, well, I like cards that do this kind of stuff. I hate cards that do that kind of stuff. And you can kind of customize it for the kind of experience you want, which I think is really fun.
Yeah. Speaking of which, every Hubworld Eidalon set is a
That's right.
draftable cube for up to 4 players.
Yeah, and you don't even have to like.
You don't have to make it.
I mean, like I'm trying to turn a very old Magic set into a cube right now, and that, unlike Eidalon, does not give a great draft experience out of the box. So I'm like having to do a lot of work to kind of rearrange it. But
And I bet it takes you extra long because you take some time appreciating the weird art from the earlier sets.
I'm always so tempted. I'm like, this card's useless, but I love the art, so maybe I can squeeze that in somehow.
No one will take it. They'll just look at it.
Yeah.
Sounds fun. Okay. Corey, tell us what you're into. Please.
I'm still just kind of into this Game Found. It's just everything.
Yeah.
And Eidalon, lots of Eidalon all the time. And that's great. But I think the only other thing, I mentioned it last time I was on, was that I have been playing some like World of Warcraft. Still kind of playing some of that. And of course, as always, RuneScape. I keep uninstalling it, and then it's just so small of a game that I can reinstall it so fast, you know? And I'm like, I'll just reinstall it and play for a little bit. It's a problem. I need to start getting into yard work is what I need to do. But until this Game Found is done, I'm into...
Yeah.
Well, you're supposed to wait
Eidalon
a few
Game
months
Found.
anyway. A few weeks.
And
for the bees. Before you do yard work. Yep. Apparently.
I already have ants I need to deal with already.
Yeah. Me too.
So,
well,
nothing exciting for me. I've been just my thing is that it's been going for like 2 weeks. It's like 2 weeks of excitement around Corey's thing.
Corey's game.
So, yeah.
You gotta make sure you take some time for yourself.
Oh, it's gonna
when
happen.
this wraps up.
I'm gonna definitely take a couple days off.
We're just not going to see you. It's done.
Well, thank you, everybody, for listening, and thanks to Rob and Joe for joining us, and Corey. This was actually very fun. I don't know why I said actually. I knew it was
like it was. Like it wasn't going to be.
I knew.
I was dreading this.
As I suspected.
It was actually fun.
Yeah. I'm glad we defied your expectations.
Yeah.
It wasn't a total mess. It was pretty tight, I would say. I hope.
Yeah.
And I feel bad because at the beginning of the show I said the Andrews aren't here. I forgot to say Maxine's not here either. Sorry, Maxine. You probably are not still listening to this, if at all. But I think probably, most likely, the regular crew will be back next time. And go fund the game if you haven't yet. The game is Hubworld Eidalon. And we'll see you next time. Bye. Everyone say bye.
Bye.
Cool.